morning, everyone. You know, Jesus has some pretty harsh words this morning for the scribes and the Pharisees. He calls them hypocrites. He says, "Woe to you, you hypocrites." But if I am honest with myself, I have to admit that sometimes I act the hypocrite. Because sometimes I sin. Right? I mean, I don't want to sin. I don't like to sin. But I do sin from time to time. And if I claim to be Christian, to try to conform my life to that of Christ, and I sin, well, that's hypocrisy. And it makes me like every other Christian who's ever lived, because we all sin from time to time. But the difference is that I'm aware of my hypocrisy. I am cognizant of my sinfulness. And I seek reconciliation. I seek the mercy and forgiveness of God in the sacrament of reconciliation. The scribes and the Pharisees viewed themselves as exempt from sin, above sin somehow, oblivious to their own sinfulness. Instead, pointing out the sinfulness of others, pointing out the same sins that they are forgiving, that they are committing in others, and condemning those others. And so they live a life that is steeped in hypocrisy. And not just kind of dipping into hypocrisy now and then, as I do. And so woe to you who live a life steeped in hypocrisy, oblivious to your own sinfulness. But even for them, there is the chance for mercy, for conversion. You know, I think we can hear this scripture a little bit differently. You know, I am not a horseman, but I do know that when you're riding a horse and you want him to stop, you pull back on the reins and you say, "Whoa." Now, I have ridden a horse exactly one time in my life, and that horse did not understand whoa. He was going as fast as he could to the barn with me on his back. I was yelling, "Whoa!" He was going, "Huh?" I was 15 years old at the time, praying that I would make it to 16. The horse didn't understand whoa. But I understand whoa. And so if I sin, if I'm tempted to sin, Christ says to me, "Whoa, stop that. Back away from that and seek forgiveness and mercy of God." And there's no better example of that in the entire history of the church than St. Augustine, who we celebrate today. St. Augustine, who lived a life of sinfulness and debauchery for years. And chances are there were many times during those years that Christ said to him, "Woe to you, Augustine, who are steeped in a life of hypocrisy." But his mother, Monica, prayed for him fervently. We celebrated her yesterday. And finally, he heard the voice of Christ saying, "Woe," W-O-A-H, "Woe, stop it. Turn away from that sin. Seek conversion. Seek the forgiveness and mercy of God." And he did. And he became one of the great saints the church has ever seen. A doctor of the church who still, his influence on the church is still felt today. 1700 years after he lived. And so today, as we gather to share this most sacred meal, let us be attentive to the voice of Christ when he says, "Woe," W-O-A-H, when we sin, when we're tempted to sin. Woe. Stop it. Seek conversion. Seek the mercy and forgiveness of God in the sacrament of reconciliation.